Here you go. The United Nations Food Chief. Billions are needed to avert unrest and starvation. He says, this is a warning. Without billions of dollars more to feed millions of hungry people, the world will see mass migration, destabilized countries, and starving children and adults in the next 12 to 18 months. Uh-oh. He's tearing at our heartstrings. They do this all the time. Bad thing about this, people, and this happens right here in the United States. When you keep feeding people year after year after year after year, the people become dependent. They're no longer assets, they are liabilities. And they can yank that food away from these people in a split second to get what they want. Food is power. I'll show you this in just a second. It's like the welfare that we have here. People aren't self-sufficient. Not any longer. When the government gives them food stamps, free housing, free medical, that does not create very good citizens. You create a dependence, and they're not going to move out of the house. Why would they? It's like when your kids are 18, you think, well, okay, they're old enough to get out on their own. Well, this doesn't happen. They realize they don't have to. The government becomes the daddy of the house, the father. They no longer need a man. You think about that. I'll put a link to this. Let's go over here a minute. Food is power. We use it to change behavior. Some may call that bribery. We do not apologize. These are the threatening words of Catherine Bernaldi, Executive Director of the United Nations World Food Program. Ms. Bernaldi is our very own former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Agriculture. She is a featured speaker at the Globus United Nations World Food Summit in November of 1996. Many believe that the United Nations is a focal point of a global restructuring process. It is also believed by many that the coming crisis of food shortage, famine, and political and social turmoil will lead to martial law, allowing socialist dictators to proclaim a revamping and restructuring of the economic system, which will solve the significant concern facing humanity. Both Hitler and Stalin taught and believed that true socialism would begin in one country, and then like an octopus it would grow to encompass the entire world. I've said that for many years that the term New World Order is merely a code word for one world socialism with an elite ruling class to govern the rest. The mechanism has already been set up to manage us in the world government, an Antichrist system. It's headquartered in the United Nations. Proclaiming that the New World Order will be founded on that rule, all for one and one for all, a World Goodwill Bulletin summarized the Illuminati's blueprint for economic control. The New World Order will recognize that the produce of the world, that the natural resources of the planet, and the riches do not belong to one nation, but should be shared by all. A fair and proper organization, distribution of wheat, oil, and mineral wealth of the world will be developed. The goal of socialism is dreamed up by Karl Marx. I'm going to put a link to all this. This is a very interesting article. Wake up, America. We have 50 governors of the states coming together to agree to trace the Constitution to decimate the people's precious historical heritage of freedom and liberty against federal encroachment. and turn all of the governing power throughout America to dictatorship. This is treason. The age of nations must come. The government of nations have decided in order to separate sovereignties into one government in which they will surrender their arms to the UN World Constitution. To achieve world government is necessary to remove from the minds of men their individuality, their loyalty to family and traditions, their national patriotism, and religious dogmas. The United Nations is the greatest fraud in history. Its purpose is to destroy the United States. Yeah. I'm going to put a link to this. They're saying here that the New World Order under the UN will reduce everything to one common denominator. The system will be made up of a single currency, single central finance government, single tax system, single language, single political system, single world court of justice, single state religion. Each person will have a registration number, which we will not be allowed to buy or sell unless he has this. There'll be a one universal world church. Yeah. Anyway, people, I'll put a link to this. If you're going to wake up in this country, for God's sake, do it now. You're running out of time. Our country's running out of time. But, I mean, this is an interesting... I mean, I read this back in the 90s, and I go... And people wouldn't wake up. They wouldn't believe it. They don't want to believe it. It's not a sugar and spice world. Food is power. We use it to change behavior. Some may call that bribery. We do not apologize. Thanks for watching, people, and I hope to hell that you wake up. This isn't some kind of a culture exchange here. This is what's really happening behind your backs. You know, if you had an invasion, if people were coming into the country, you know, to take over, you'd grab a gun and go fight it. But if you get small doses of something that looks like it's nice and, you know, like a nice furry little puppet or something, well, you don't get scared. But eventually that puppet takes over. It's a Trojan, the United Nations is a Trojan horse given to you by rich people who want to have global control. The United Nations uses treaties and stuff like that to make you submit. I mean, all of your parks people, I don't care who says what, they're under United Nations control. Wake up.